Alright, UFC 321 ended in one of the most anticlimactic ways we've ever seen in UFC title fight history. I think we can all agree with that. After we waited for so long, we finally got to see the undisputed heavyweight champion Tom Aspinall put his belt against Cyril Gane. And the worst part is that it was a really close and competitive fight, but it was honestly cut so short due to controversial eye pokes. What's even crazier is that a week later, Tom Aspinall's own teammate Ante Delia almost repeated history by poking Waldo Cortez Acosta in the eye, almost stopping that fight too. So the world of MMA is in a complete uproar, asking the same question over and over again. Why does this keep happening? So now that we've had two fight cards in a row, two big profile heavyweight fights marred by eye pokes, people are asking an even more important question that we need the answer to, and that is, how can we fix eye pokes? Now here's the thing, folks. The unfortunate part of MMA is that eye pokes will always be there, in my opinion. I don't think they're ever going to go away. They've been there since the beginning. You can go all the way back to 1993 when the UFC started, and there's been eye pokes. But in my humble opinion, over the last 10 to 15 years, it's become much worse. It almost seems like it's intentional on the fighter's end sometimes. It's like every week now has a type of eye poke, and maybe it doesn't cause as much controversy as the last 2 weeks, but you're at least going to halt the action, or you might even scar a fighter permanently, and that needs to stop. That's why the MMA media, fighters, promoters, and even referees are starting to scramble to find a solution to this problem to stop eye pokes. What drives me nuts is no matter how any conversation about stopping eye pokes comes up, it always circles back to one problem in people's minds, the number one culprit, and that is the fight gloves. And guess what? That's where I come in. Now, if you have no idea who I am, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Al the Postmaster Morrow, and I'm a professional mixed martial artist with a record of 2 wins and 1 loss, and I'm signed to the LFA, which is the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest developmental promotion outside of the UFC, and I've also been collecting combat sports equipment since I was 15 years old. I'm 28 now, and I have just over 300 gloves combined between MMA and boxing gloves. This channel you're watching now, The Combat Corporation, is where I review all different types of gloves and combat sports equipment, and in fact, I've actually reviewed the UFC Fight Gloves, and I have seen this topic brought up to me all the time, especially over the last 2 weeks, and I'm here to share a very unpopular opinion. It's not the gloves, it's user error. After the last 2 weeks, I really wanted to sit in front of the camera and make this video to kind of prove my point, because I really think people need to look into being more harsh towards the rules. Like I said, I've fought over 15 amateur MMA fights. I'm now going into my 4th pro MMA fight, and everyone tells you in the back too, like, you have to watch your fingers. They have to be either closed, upwards, or they have to be shooting towards anywhere but the face. By the end of this video, you will see my entire MMA collection, and we're going to see which glove can truthfully stop eye pokes, or if it is 100% user error, no matter how the glove is designed. I'm going to be using MMA fight gloves, sparring gloves, and some fun hybrids that you may have never seen before. So with that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Now, since most people say the UFC fight gloves have the worst fight glove design across the world at MMA, I figured I'd get 3 generations of UFC fight gloves on the camera first. We have the Owano fight gloves, which I believe were around from 2000 to like 2010. Then we have the Century Martial Arts version, which started in about 2010-11. Then we had the very short-lived Vices version, which was, I think, only around for like 4 to 6 months until they went back to the Century version. The only one I don't have is the Boxergenics version, which was around in the mid-90s, and they're exceedingly rare to find. I really want one just to display, but unfortunately, I can't find any. So if you see any, comment it in the comment section below, because I'd really like to look into it. But I figured, since apparently these are the worst gloves ever and the root to all people's problems, we'd start with the Century Martial Arts version. Now, the funny thing is, when I reviewed these gloves, I actually complimented them a lot on the quality. They are overall really well made, with a nice top grain cowhide leather outer shell. The gel padding is actually really thick and protects the knuckles really well compared to some other gloves out there. They have a nice thick wrist strap for good wrist support, and they open really well. The interior lining is nice and smooth, so your hand wraps can glide right on and fit really well to your hand. Now, the one thing that most fighters complain about when it comes to these gloves is, once you cinch them on tight to your hand, is that they make your fist open and it's impossible to close, and they make your hand extend. Now, here's my problem with that. I'm doing this myself. I'm flaring out my fingers, as you can see. Just like Cyril Gane poked Tom Aspinall, I'm doing this because I'm choosing to do it. When I relax my hand or close my fist, it's that easy. My hands relax, my fingers are drooped down. No glove I've really ever tried makes my fingers do this. And if they did, then that's just a complete error in production and they need to fix something. The one thing I will say is that I wish they were a little bit less stiff in the padding, so it wasn't like a complete hard squeeze to close my fist. But overall, it's very easy to open and close, get a very good grip. The thumb's exposed as well, so I can get an even easier fist. But no, it does not force your fingers open, as you can see. Again, I relax my fingers here, I close my fist. It does not promote my fingers to do this at all, in my opinion. Now, since people complain that these gloves made the fingers open like this, they decided to hire Vices, which is a football and hockey helmet company, I believe, to make these MMA gloves. Now, the only difference really for me is that these gloves were lighter. These are actually under 4 ounces total, which is crazy. And on top of it, they were less padded and they were straighter. As you can see, the original UFC Fight Glove you're used to today actually curves down more than the new and improved version did. Now, when I put this glove on, it still opens pretty well. The interior lining's still reasonably comfortable. I put my fingers on. There's too much stitching on the inside of the fingers, which is actually really rough on the interior part of the fingers themselves. But as you can see, my fingers are actually straighter than they were before. But again, if I relax them, they're still going down. And guess what? I close my fists. It's just about as hard as these were. The only difference is that these have what's called a slip foam system. So when you close your fist, the foam actually stacks on top of each other. But still, it's just as hard to close my fist, but it's just as easy to open it too. And notice how I can poke you right in the eye the same way with new and improved technology that costs over $100 more than the original. I give Iwano a lot of props because they've been around for a long time. They've made gloves for the WEC, Strikeforce at one point, I believe. They also made gloves for the UFC, of course, King of the Cage, Pride at one point even. But you know what? These are really what you would call your standard run-of-the-mill MMA gloves. And when I put them on, as you can see, they are very much just like the Century version. And my hands are able to go in, open and close very easily. You have a basic wrist strap. And again, I'm making a really nice natural fist with these. I'm able to open and close, but watch, boop, poke right there. So again, it's not the gloves. It's because I want to open my fingers just like this. I showed you the UFC Fight Gloves, but I guarantee most of you said, yeah, well, the Pride Gloves were the best design. Well, guess what? I'm not able to have the actual Pride Glove design. I've tried them on before, but I have 2 identical replicas made by companies that got a hold of the old Pride Gloves, and I'm going to try them on again to kind of show you that it's not just the gloves, it's user error. So these gloves were made by Muto, and the cool thing about Pride Gloves that they add laces. They're kind of optional, but these are the complete Velcro and lace-up version. And when I go ahead and I close this up tight, as you can see, like Pride Gloves had individual finger guards, so you had finger dexterity, but watch this. Really easy to close my fist, much more padding, much better on the back of the hand, a lot more comfortable, still tons of rooms for hand wraps. Poke, that easy, right? Just because they're overly curved, and you can see these gloves are curved down, does not mean I can't just go, boop, there you go, poke. It's that easy. Another company that's been around for a long time, and they've made a couple different models of this, is the Dynasty Martial Arts Renaissance glove. And they even have an interior strap as well for added wrist support. And again, individual finger guards, putting the glove on here. It's just as soft as the Muto gloves. It feels like, easiest way I can say it is it feels like the MMA version of winning. We go ahead and we strap this up tight. Again, look how the knuckles are a little bit more curved. And poke. It's that easy. Again, I am right here. My fist is closed very easily, able to open and close very easily, and poke you just as easily. So again, it's not the Pride Glove design. It would help a little bit, but is it going to stop it? No. If we start going into other promotions, we have the modern version of the Pride Glove with Ryzen here. And as you can see, these are an overly cupped design. And I've reviewed these gloves too. They're very well made. They're not made out of genuine leather. They're actually an artificial leather. They are the most comfortable MMA fight glove I've ever put on. But as you can see here, even though these are overly cupped, poke, it's that easy, guys. I keep repeating that, don't I? It's that easy. Just because it's overly cupped, it's nice and flexible. I have the best grips I can get with these gloves. It's just that easy to open up and do what Cyril Gahn did to Tom Aspinall, and boop, there you go, poke you right in the eye. Same brand that made the Ryzen gloves, Asami made the gloves for Shuto, and they're really the same thing. But again, you notice we have the overly cupped design, poke, that easy. Who remembers when Bellator said that they had the best MMA fight glove design with the Everlast Powerlock MMA glove? And notice again, they have this nice cupped fight glove shape I've actually fought in these myself. They're very comfortable, great knuckle protection, great wrist support, very easy to grapple in, poke. And at the tail end of Bellator, they went with Leone 1947. And as you can see, these are the contest gloves, and they actually have the whole side of the hand open. It doesn't strap as much. I'm able to close my fist pretty easily, but honestly, this glove feels like it's forcing my fingers to pop out. So this one is literally making me poke you. Century made the UFC glove, but did you know they actually made the PFL glove as well? The second version of the PFL glove that we have here, it's actually much taller, much wider. It's much more like an actual karate bag glove, which is kind of cool. So we strap that up tight. It's on our hand now, and then poke. It's just as easy as these. It's actually the same exact glove in my opinion, only it's just a little bit taller, and it provides better wrist support. The original PFL gloves were designed by the Brazilian jiu-jitsu company Fuji, and as you can see, these have a bit of a curved design, and they look very similar to the actual UFC glove. So funny enough, these gloves feel like they are forcing my hand into a closed position, but again, poke. I'm able to open it just as easily as any other glove I've had. But I will say, grip-wise, the Fuji PFL glove is far and above better than any other glove other than the Rising glove, in my opinion. I mentioned earlier that I'm signed with the LFA, and these are the official LFA fight gloves I got to use. Granted, I only used them for a couple seconds because I blew my knee out by stepping the wrong way. My opinion, I'm able to close my fist a little bit easier, but I think you got the point. Poke, it's that easy to open my fingers up and poke you in the eyes. As an amateur, I fought in a couple of different models of gloves as well. This is Cage Wars, the amateur promotion I fought for. We'll try these on. They're pretty much an identical fit and feel to the LFA gloves I was just talking about, but again, poke. These RDX fight gloves, because I fought both in blue and red corner, but you know what? We'll put the blue glove on. I'm actually really sad that RDX discontinued this glove type because it's super comfortable, feels like a pillow on the back of my hand, but again, poke. I know you're starting to get the point. Those are all MMA fight gloves, but what about MMA sparring gloves that are rounded off? These were designed by a loved coach in the world of MMA, Trevor Whitman. He's coached guys like Justin Gaethje, Rose Namajunas, Kamaru Usman, a ton of people, Corey Sandhagen, and he's well renowned for making really awesome gear. And when these MMA sparring gloves came out, I was really happy to finally try them out because he says, along with all his fighters, that they stop eye pokes, that they're really great for the hand and poke. Look, my fingers, they're popping out right at you. Even in the MMA sparring gloves, my fingers are wide open. I'm able to go get you. Now, obviously, they're cupped and I'm able to make a nice tight fist, and there's a lot more padding here, but poke, that easy. I'm able to just come out and poke you. And earlier in the video, I mentioned there are some unique hybrids out there, and this is the Belfort Martial Arts hybrid glove made by Danger Fight Equipment, and I'm going to put them on. As you can see, they're basically a boxing glove with an open palm, but you can see my fingers are out and poke. I'm still able to get you. Granted, this overhang is still there, but notice how my finger's able to pop out right there. I'm still able to come get you with that eye. And guess what? It's just like an old school boxing glove. My thumb's out, I can poke you even though it's padded. So even with a super unique hybrid like this, I'm gonna be able to poke you in the eye. But I know what you're thinking, Al, there's gotta be a glove in your collection that stops eye poke, so let's keep going until we get to the very last one. Players Power MMA Sparring Glove, poke. Players Spartech MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Rev Gear Deluxe MMA Gloves, poke. Hayabusa T3LX Hybrid MMA Gloves, poke. Sanibel Gold Strike 2.0 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Rev Gear Pinnacle MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Venom Challenger 3.0 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Venom Undisputed 2.0 MMA Gloves, poke. Combat Sports Max Strike MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Combat Sports Pro MMA Fight Gloves, poke. Venom Evo Scales MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Brand new Venom Serpente MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Fairtex FGV 18 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Fairtex FGV 15 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. UFC Pro Safety MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. UFC Sparring Gloves, poke. Cleto Reyes Original MMA Fight Gloves, poke. Venom Challenger MMA Grappling Glove, poke. Dead Serious MMA Official Fight Glove, poke. RDX Kara F6 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Rev Gear MS1 MMA Sparring Glove, poke. Just a disclaimer, I love the brand Rival, but these are the worst MMA glove I've ever tried. But these are the Rival MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Combat Sports Amateur Fight Glove, poke. PVL Amateur Fight Gloves, poke. Ring to Cage Amateur Fight Gloves, poke. If we have any fans of The Undertaker, these are the same gloves that he used in the ring. These are the Primetime Combat Pad MMA gloves, poke. I've had these since I was 14, by the way. Yokow MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Sanibel Essential MMA Sparring Glove, poke. Sanibel Battle Forged MMA Sparring Glove, poke. These are commonly used as amateur fight gloves elsewhere, but these are the T6 MMA Sparring Gloves by RDX, and as you can see, I can still poke you right in the eyes. Engage is Israel Adesanya's brand. These are the E-Series MMA Sparring Gloves. poke. Sorry, Stylebender. Engage WIP Series MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. The Sanibel Funk Strike MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Phantom Athletics Riot Pro MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Century Creed MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. UFC Pro MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. RDX T17 Aura Plus MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Sanibel Core Series MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. My hand is getting raw from putting on so many gloves, by the way. Combat Corner MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Karate Combat Official Fight Gloves, poke. Funny thing is, you don't see a lot of eye pokes in Karate Combat, do you? Combat Corner HMIT MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. MK1 MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Phantom Athletics Apex MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Katorea's Black Mamba MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Lock MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. JFO MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. By the way, if you want a halfway decent pair of MMA gloves for literally $10 off Amazon, go for these. They're not too bad. Valley Sports Lancer MMA Sparring Gloves, poke. Who remembers the brand Hypnotic until they went out of business because they sunk all their money into sponsoring Gordon Ryan for virtually nothing? Well, either way, these are the Pro Max MMA Sparring Gloves by Hypnotic, and they can't be made anymore, but guess what? Poke! Last but not least, we have my favorite pair of MMA sparring gloves, strictly for sparring. These are the Sami pounding gloves. They're awesome because they're super soft and plush, safe for me, safe for my partners. They even have a hammer fist bar on the side. The fingerlets are completely independent, just like the Pride gloves, so you gotta fit them all in. They're very comfortable. You're able to get awesome grips just like that, able to grapple in these great. They fit on the hand perfectly, and just like every other glove I've showed you today, poke. I'm able to poke you in the eyes as easy as I am to close my fist. So folks, I've shown you basically my entire collection, but there's one model glove, a very unique hybrid that actually created the whole design for MMA gloves as we know it today, and these are Kempo gloves, or Jeet Kune Do gloves, whatever you like to call them. These are the ones that you've seen in the Bruce Lee movie, I believe it was Enter the Dragon, where he had his mock MMA fight at the beginning of it, where he finished the guy with a crucifix armbar, which is really interesting. But these gloves, as you can see, are massive. They're just like boxing gloves. A lot of boxers actually used them for bag and mitt work back in the day. Guys like Tommy Hearns used them. They were basically closed palm, primarily cloth and leather, and as you can see, they're actually 16-ounce gloves that are basically for MMA gloves. And I actually use these for big MMA sparring because I'm able to keep myself protected and my teammates protected, and you'd be shocked at the grip you get. These are by Proforce. These are by Top Boxer. These are the Dragon Kempo gloves. These are one of my favorite gloves I've tried. They fit great, and I wanted to show you these because you can see that we have padded tips here at the top of the glove. Now, they're not actually over the finger, they're right on top of the finger. And you would think that would stop the eye pokes, but no, because they are able to kind of move off to the side and I can still poke you very easily. And just to prove it, I'm gonna close my eyes really tight. I'm actually gonna like put some force into this. Even with the padded tips here, I'm like digging in, guys. I don't know if you can tell, but it still doesn't feel good on my eyes. And I tell you what, if I got poked with my eyes open, it would hurt just as much, if not maybe a little less, than just having my eyes poked by bare bone and flesh. So overall, I would hope that these would have worked, but I've tried it before and they don't. Eye pokes will still happen no matter what type of open hand glove design that you have. Some gloves might help prevent it slightly more, but in this case, even a glove that is literally completely covered just about doesn't change anything. I've seen some people say, well, maybe if you make a glove with neoprene sleeves over the fingers, well, then grappling would be very slick. And on top of it, again, you need thick pillow pads at the end to even make any type of difference. And I just don't think that would ever happen. So to close the show, do I think the UFC Fight Glove is the best fight glove out there? Absolutely not. There's tons that I showed today that I think are much better, but these are for sure not the worst glove, and they are not the reason behind eye pokes, in my humble opinion. After all the gloves I've shown you and the gloves that I fought in, these are just not the reason behind it. I truly believe that Cyril Gane, when he poked Tom Aspinall, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he needs to be more responsible with the tools that he presents. And I think as a pro MMA fighter myself, am I on the same level of those guys? Absolutely not. One day, I hope, but you know, those guys are something special. But I do listen very well. And ever since I was an amateur, I had guys like Keith Peterson, Dan Mergliotta, never Herb Dean, but I've had Todd Anderson, Kevin Mulhall, I think his name, a bunch of UFC refs tell us flat out, watch your fingers out like this. They either have to come up or stay closed, and you listen to that. And what they told us in the back, this is your one and only warning. My opinion as a pro MMA fighter myself and someone that coaches fighters too, I would just tell people, if the rules were up to me, if I see you do this without poking someone, I give you one warning. If I see you continue to do that, that is a foul. I give you 1 point. If you poke someone, it's an automatic point. If they cannot continue, you're disqualified. I know Jim Miller said if you put in there that, hey, maybe take some part of people's purses, because I know Pride did that in Japan years ago, but I don't know if it would work that way in the United States or other countries. It could. It would definitely be a big deterrent, but I think people would get really upset at that too, because now you're starting to mess with people's financial situation. But at the end of the day, guys, my opinion, eye pokes won't ever go away unless you enforce the rules. And here's the thing, if someone wants to comment, well, what if the gloves only fit people a certain way? Well, let's use Cyril Gane as an example. He is a consummate professional fighting at the highest level you can. I would expect him to voice his concerns if a glove doesn't fit him right, and the UFC, no matter what you say, would make accommodations, just like they did with Brock Lesnar and Shane Carwin's hands back in the day, because they were so huge that they literally couldn't keep their hands closed because the glove would split. They would do something for Cyril Gane, and even if they needed to make a short design change on the cusp of like the night of the fight, whatever it is, trust me, they have the means to have someone customize a pair of gloves for them and put the UFC logo on it. It's happened before. You just might not know that, but that's happened several times. You can see some title fights where the gloves are slightly different. And as for these gloves compared to the old ones, you know, people say John Jones always pokes people in the eye, and John Jones used to, he hated the new gloves. That's why he wanted these back. I see why John Jones wanted these back, because actually they're a little bit easier to close your fist in, if not just as easy. They have more room in them and they're more comfortable. I agree. The new ones were very uncomfortable. So I don't blame John Jones as much as some of the stuff he's done. I don't think he's out there saying, I want these gloves because I can poke people in the eyes easier, because for me, it's the same. It's the exact same, only just, you know, those were a little bit lighter. That's it. But guys, this was kind of a fun video to make. The only thing that sucks is I have a huge, ginormous pile that's going up to a doorknob in one of my doors of MMA gloves that I have to put back on my shelves here. And I'm not looking forward to that because that's going to take a little bit. But I really hope you enjoyed the video. I like sitting down and recording it. Please subscribe if you like this, and like the video as well. Share it with your friends if they have any opinions on MMA glove designs. I'd love to know that too. And please comment below and let me know what you thought about my ideas behind the rules and MMA glove designs, or if you think any gloves were honestly maybe could have done the job had they just changed one or two things. I really want to know your opinions. Let me know if you think any brands out there would do that. You know, I know some people really think the new Onyx gloves, the fight gloves that will come out in the next year, are going to do that. I still think you're going to be able to poke people in the eyes, even those. Love Trevor Whitman, love Onyx as a brand, but you know, I'm not necessarily optimistic that they'll stop eye pokes. Again, I really think it's user error, and I think this video proved that. So with that said, thank you so much for watching The Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and as always, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.